V1. Rotate.
Welcome back to the flight deck. It's been a rather uneventful flight over France. We're an hour and 35 minutes in, and we are approaching the English Channel. So it's time to start thinking about our descent and arrival into Stansted. So let's have a look at the charts and the weather. So weather in Stansted, the temperature's 11, the dew point is 9. Winds are kind of out of the south at 5 knots. I've been keeping an eye on this because they started off in the southwest and almost a westerly direction, and they've been dying down, but they've been slowly shifting towards the south, so I'm definitely keeping an eye on that to determine our arrival runway. It's starting to cloud over, but visibility is still good. The pressure is 1008. London West Centre has sprung up online. Unfortunately, our entry into UK airspace is the waypoint COTEM. So unless London South comes online, or London SC Centre, which is the combined centre and south sectors, unfortunately we don't get to talk to London West. And there's another issue as well, is unfortunately the chart site that I use for UK airfields, which is the NATS website, seems to be having a bit of an issue today. I can't seem to pull up any of the charts, so we're going to have to use some old school JEP charts for our arrival. They're a little bit outdated, unfortunately, so we're basically just going to come up with a game plan based off of these charts. From the Midhurst VOR, which is our final waypoint, there's an arrival, the Laurel 2 Charlie. Now, in the sim, or in the more recent ARAC data, that has been updated to, I think it's the Laurel 4 Charlie now, which kind of skips over Midhurst. But we'll program that into the FMC and we'll talk about it once we're back in the flight deck. Basically, we're going to be going near Midhurst at this point. We are going to be going to the Ockham VOR, and then over to Brookman's Park, up to Barkway. Then we're going to go to Busta, and then make a left turn to Laurel, and then we have a transition over into runway 22. So the airfield, if I can scroll down to the airfield and show you all what it looks like. It was featured in one of my previous videos anyway, so we're sort of familiar with it. It's now a runway 0422, so this is really outdated nav data. But we're basically going to be coming in on runway 22, landing, and our assigned stand is on apron B. So that is the game plan. Unfortunately, like I said, not much I can do about the outdated charts for now, but we'll go back into the flight deck and we'll have a better look at it from there. Alright, back in the flight deck. Like I said, we're coming up to the channel here, and as you can see, we're entering the UK airspace via COTEM, and then to Phillip, Sussex, Avant, and then the Midhurst VOR. So I've already pre-tuned the Midhurst VOR on, I believe it's nav 2, and I have the ILS frequency, I think, in nav 1. No, that's the Ockham VOR on nav 1. We're still squawking 6264. What else did I want to talk about? I've already pre-entered some descent winds, so you don't have to see me fuddling around with the MCP. So we've put in a couple of those, as well as our transition level, which is 60. We've set the QNH in the MCP as, in the flight management computer rather, as 1008. We can go ahead and put that in the standby as well. Doesn't hurt. There we go. So we've got that in the standby now. And let's go ahead and plug in our arrival. So what I like to do is, on one side rather, I put the plan page, and then step down to our final waypoint, which was Midhurst. And that gives me a better visualization of where we're coming from here. And then in the other FMS, we will activate ILS 22, and we will find the, I believe it was the Laurel 4 Charlie, which, if you look now, it kind of, we've got Avant, and then we've got direct to Ockham, so we kind of skip Midhurst, and then up to Vatten, and then, as I mentioned, all the way to eventually Busta. We'll step through this. We'll zoom in a little bit here. Go ahead and activate this. It's going to be the Laurel transition. We'll go ahead and execute, and we will get rid of the Midhurst VOR. So now we're going Avant, and then Occam VOR, then Vatten, and then Brookman's Park, which I don't have the, yeah, okay, so that's in number 1. We can track the radial 207. And then up here to Barkway, then Busta, then Laurel, and then back around for runway 22. The ILS frequency is, it's already pre-tuned, 11050, and our final heading will be 224 degrees. So that's pretty much it. We've got everything set up into the FMSs, or FMCs, like management computers. We have a top of descent just over Kotem, and our initial restriction will be Avant at flight level 190. Not much else to say. Again, London West is online. Unfortunately, can't talk to them. Nothing at Stansted really, so looks like a Unicom flight for now. We'll see. Maybe as we get closer, something will spring up. Alright, so we're coming up to Laurel, which was another altitude constraint of flight level 60. We're going to go to local QNH in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the ILS frequency of 110.5. And we have our course, which was 224. So plug that in, 224, like so. Go ahead and set local QNH, like so. And we can continue our descent to 2,500 feet. Again, without charts, it's a little bit tricky. We're surviving. We're basing it off of the FMS data instead of looking at the charts. It's good enough for me. We are below flight level 100, so the shiny switches are set. We'll stand by on the ignition switches. Go ahead and set our auto brake to 2. As it is a relatively long runway and we are quite light, we could get away with 1, but the advent of having 2 is, or auto brake 2 rather, is that the farther that we make our landing, the farther we have to taxi on the backtrack. Essentially, we're landing and the terminal is going to be behind us the farther we get. So here comes that cloud layer. Visibility will be an issue for a little while here. But shouldn't be too much of a factor once we get below this this base layer here. Alright, time to start getting set for approach, so we'll bring out flaps 1. We're about to make our turn here. It's going to be a sweeping right to final. Just tighten that up a little bit. Tighten up the other side. There we go. And you can see that the FMS is automatically set flaps 1 speed. Continuing our descent to 2,500 feet. Missed approach is going to be 3,000. We'll set that once we're established. Not much else to do here except the final turn. Lovely fall colors in the UK. Looking forward to winter ops. That's going to be fun in a couple of months here once we start getting some snow and some icing. Here comes the turn. Go ahead and sync up our heading. 224. Like so. Bring out flaps 5. Flaps 5 traveling. $1,000 to go. Flaps 5 speed is set. The glide slope's already alive. Localizers, we're just waiting on that. Let's go ahead and put out all of the shiny switches. Turn-offs, taxi, light it up like a Christmas tree.
2,500.
Checked. Ignition switches to continuous. Speed brake. Armed. Waiting on the gear. Runway's in sight. Loke's alive. Give our Loke. Here's our turn to final. Gear's coming out. Gears out, 3 green, flaps 15. Set our final approach speed. Nice beautiful day, autopilot's coming out. My aircraft. Take out the flight directors. Set our missed approach altitude, 3,000. Flaps 30. Do we want to use the HGS? Nah. Speed's good. Profile's looking good. A little bit of up trim. There was a Ryanair at the field, but I announced our intentions and I didn't hear anything back. We'll see if he's waiting for us at the end of the runway here. A little bit more up trim. I'll go ahead and match up my physical throttle levers with the throttles of the aircraft. A little bit down trim now. Glide's looking good, profile's looking good. A little bit windy. It's manageable. A little bit high. Correcting. Bring up the, there we go. So you can see what I'm doing. A little bit at least. Oops. There we go. Looking good. Glide's coming back. A little bit up. Auto throttle's coming out. Beautiful.
300. 200.
Comes minimums.
100. 50. 30.
Flare. And we're down. Reverse green now. Decel. 70 knots. 60 knots. Manual braking. Reverse coming in. And welcome to Stansted. 2 hours, 24 minutes in the air. We'll vacate over here on the left. Skosh of left. There we go. We'll clean up as we make our second left onto the taxiway. I believe it's Hotel. And we'll take Hotel to Bravo, Bravo to the Bravo gates. Ours is going to be gate 21. There we go. We are vacated. Shiny switches off, like so. You can turn off the turn off lights, and the gen switches. Turn off the strobes. Slow it down just a little bit here. Can turn off our transponder as well. Like so. Weather radar. Scotia power during the turn. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if we're meant to take this taxiway or the parallel taxiway over to the right. But as there's not much in the way of traffic, we can deconflict ourselves. Muttering Unicom here. We're going to say our intentions quickly, and we'll get the aircraft cleaned up. Alright, we can say sayonara to engine number 1. The ground crew has already supplied us with ground power. We can go ahead and connect that. And goodbye, engine number 2. Release the passengers. Empty call comes off. Fuel pumps off. Hydraulics off. Bleeds, or packs rather, off. And yaw damper off. IRS is off. And we're good to go. Let's get deboarded. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on another successful adventure with Fly UK. We've got enough experience now to be promoted to Class D First Officer. The future looks bright as we hop back to mainline service with the full route network at our disposal. And I don't have to drink cold coffee anymore. I'm off to grab some fish and chips, the darkest stout I can find, and a bit of rest before brushing up on my A320 procedures. So I'll catch you all soon, but until then, I wish you blue skies, tailwinds, and I'll see you in the next episode.